Hello everyone, it's Red with RedDragonLeo.com. It is May the 13th, 2012, Mother's Day. So be sure to call up your mother and wish her a happy Mother's Day. Don't forget that, guys. I know you guys are forgetful. I am too, but I did not forget this time, and I did send my mother a card. So you guys should all do the same as well. In this post here, we're going to cover basically the latest from Lindsey Williams. We're also going to get into Drake and Benjamin Fulford and David Wilcock as well, and also Cliff High. So it may end up being two videos, but we'll see. The first video here, basically what I want to cover here is that Lindsey Williams has told us in so many words when this crash is going to happen. And it looks to me like we have already got two, possibly three, of the four qualifications to look for a crash. And I believe I know when the crap is going to hit the fan. So we're going to get to that shortly. Here are the four things that we are to look for right here. They are cracks in the derivatives market, currency wars to start, trade wars to start, and an interest rate hike. This is according to Lindsey in this video. If you listen closely, he tells you this. We've already had the cracks in the derivatives market already start. On February the 2nd of this year, May the 2nd of this year, 2012, Prudential posted record losses from derivatives. This is the cracks that he is talking about. It is already starting to show. This was, again, right after the Legatus pilgrimage. So if you're wondering if the Legatus pilgrimage works, well, you can clearly see that we have been in a downturn market since the Legatus pilgrimage. Or the Legatus meeting, I should say. I don't think that was a pilgrimage, but whatever. Where the gangsters meet and funnel their money through secret Vatican bank accounts and offshore before they tank the market. And so we have been going down. There's also more cracks as J.P. Morgan announced a $2 billion loss in the derivatives market as well. So we are starting to see the cracks. This just happened on Friday, and these are just two banks of many that are going to be coming out over the rest of this year as this unfolds and the crap hits the fan. So this is the first one of the things that Lindsey says to look for, cracks in the derivative markets. It is already happening. Now, currency wars. Let's look at this. Lindsey has told us several times back already that Japan and China started to trade with each other using their own currencies and not using the United States dollar, the Federal Reserve note. There is also, from a prior interview with Lindsey, there's also the information that stated that Iran is trading with India with gold instead of the U.S. dollar. So they have gotten rid of the dollar, and now India is buying gold or buying oil from Iran with gold. This is what you'd call currency wars. Now, they're moving on to the third thing here that is talking about. It is trade wars. Trade wars is basically what China has already done recently, which was to allow their currency to float more freely. Now, Lindsey just mentions it in this video. He mentions it, and he says that China went from, I think, 0.5, they let it float up to 1.0, essentially doubling the value of their currency when compared to ours. This means that things are going to cost more for us, obviously. Now, I found this story. There's basically what he said right there, from 0.5 to 1.0, essentially doubling the cost of goods. And this is all part of what the elite has planned. He has been telling us this. Lindsey's been telling us this for several years now. So this story here is actually from the BBC, and I think it was from, the date on this was, let me see here. What was the actual date on this story? I think it was the first of this year or something. So, no, okay, March 14th. Okay, so this is just started. So, it is now 2 months in with this. So we are starting to see 3 of these things happen already, assuming that this is what he is talking about when he considers trade wars, which I believe it is. Trade wars meaning there's the currency, so you've got a combination of them. Hang on here a second here. Okay, so anyway, where I was that I believe 3 of these 4 things have happened, which are that China, by allowing their currency to float more freely, this basically means that we are having a currency war. China versus the bad guys inside the Federal Reserve, the cabal, the Illuminati cabal, these gangsters. This is happening, and then the trade with Iran and India trading gold for oil, that is obviously that's obviously a trade war. Yeah. So you can those things, whether you could call them currency wars, trade wars, I think they're all summed up there together. They are not using the American dollar for their currency to do trade with. So I don't know, there's a fine line, I guess, in which one you would call a trade war and which one you would call a currency war. But to me, all of those things are indicating that those 2 categories, those 2 things of the 4 listed, have been met. We are having currency wars and trade wars going on right now. So I don't usually cover this kind of news, but because the mainstream media is there to distract you and to get you to go short when you should be going long, and long when you should be going short, etc. But I am looking at this for the big picture, because this is what Lindsey Williams has been told for us to look out for. This is what we got to focus on. So there is, here is the proof of this. I did go back and see, has Lindsey Williams been telling us the truth about the Iran buying or selling oil and getting gold in exchange for it. And here is the story from the Russian Times news station, a radio station. You can click on that link and you'll see a video. And that's exactly what they're doing. And then the same thing for Japan and China. They are agreeing to trade with each other, not using the American dollar. So there is your proof. These things are happening. You can click on these links to see. So I'm not sure exactly what he's considering trade wars versus currency wars, but I'm pretty sure that this is part of it. Okay. So the only thing left for the crash to happen is right here. The interest rates to go up. He said, look for the interest rates to go up. That means Ben Bernanke is going to come on TV, like he usually does at one of these FOMC meetings, most likely, I'm assuming that, and he will raise the interest rates. When this happens, I think this is when the crash starts. So, piecing all of this together, Lindsey Williams was told by his elite source that there'll be no crash in March, April, May, or June. That does not mean that it cannot start down. And I believe that's what we've had. I said this before. I thought that we could start down in the market after the Legatus pilgrimage, then maybe come back up in June and either put in a slightly lower high, a slightly higher high, or maybe just a double top. But basically come back up for a very powerful retracement and then crash after that. Of course, that means it would start in late June and get some momentum and really, really crash into July and August, which is not one of these dates. So understand, when Lindsey says crash, he means worldwide crash and big crash, not just a big move down in the market like we've had so far. This is not a crash. This is just a small correction. So it can start before that. So what I did was I went and found Ben Bernanke's schedule with the Federal Reserve Board, and I posted it here. And here is his schedule. This is my speculation. By the way, the last post I just did, right here, you can click on this link. It is the one that I went over some ritual dates of what I think could possibly be the date that they are going to start the crash. To me, the most logical one, most powerful one would be June the 11th. It is a ritual 11 date, but there's also, I covered that in this post because that Simpson clock said 6/11 on it. That's June 11th. There's also, they've already had the 3/11 attack when they attacked Japan. They've had a 9/11, so maybe a 6/11 is something next. I don't know for sure. But that doesn't really line up with Bernanke's schedule. Bernanke's schedule is June 19th through 20th, 2012. And there happens to be a Friday the 22nd right after that. And 22nd is also another 11 day. Most crashes end up happening on Fridays or Mondays. So when you look at this schedule, what you'll see pointing out is we have an FOMC meeting May 16th this coming week. And it says these key words here, meeting of April 24th through 25th. I can only assume that this meeting here is just going to cover some of the details that have already been out from April 24th through 25th, that may be nothing new. I really don't know how to interpret that other than to think that this is prior information, nothing new. He's just going to rehash a lot of the old stuff. There's nothing ritual about May the 16th that I can find. So this week I'm still inclined to believe there's going to be a bounce in the market and that he won't announce anything of significance at this meeting. Moving on to the one in July, you see it says meeting of June 19th through 20th, 2012. And then when we look at that meeting, the only thing it says there is 2-day meeting, June 19th and 20th. This is the one I do believe is the most important because it doesn't say anything about a past meeting. So I believe this is going to be new information. I speculate that he is going to raise interest rates on this date. This lines up with the timeline of a bounce, of us basically bouncing some next week and then selling off into the rest of May and closing out May at some type of bottom, then rallying up into June 19th and 20th before this FOMC meeting. Then traders being surprised and shocked as Bernanke announces to the world that he's going to raise the interest rates. At this point, I expect to either see a slightly lower high or a higher high or maybe just a double top. I really don't know at that point what it's going to be. But I think this is our significant turn. I think this is the date we're going to see our crash. This is just speculation, folks. This is just speculation on my part. But I want to go over that. So as far as next week, this coming week, I think we're going to have a bounce into options expiration. And then after that, we'll sell off the rest of May, most likely. Okay, so at this point, before I continue the post, I've got more to cover in the post, so I'm going to go over the Drake story and David Wilcox and Benjamin Fulford in the next video. So that is it for this video. I'll see you in part 2. Thanks a lot, guys.